There's nothing quite as French as bread, and no bread is more French than baguettes. Welcome to the Elliott Confidential podcast. I'm Christopher Elliott. I'm here with Iden Elliott and Aren Elliott. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Well, today we visited 3 of the most iconic boulangeries in Paris, and we brought their baguettes back here into the studio for testing purposes. But before we do that, let's get to our question of the week. What is the best bread you've ever had in your travels? We want to hear your stories about pão in Sao Paulo, or pane in Madrid, or brot in Berlin. Please share your comments in the comments, and we'll read them on our next podcast, like we always do. So a little later in the podcast, we're going to tell you our bread secrets. But first, let's take a walk through Paris to a little boulangerie called Liberté.
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 And we were there this morning, Aren, you and I, and it was a small place. You almost missed it. We almost walked right past it.
Yeah.
But nice inside, and the smell of bread was amazing.
Yeah.
What
How
did
long
you
was
think?
the line?
Well, there was no line. There was only one boulangerie that really had a line, and I'll get to that in a second.
All right, Iden. Here's the bread. Boulangerie.
Liberté.
Oh yes, here.
This is the baguette from Liberté,
Liberté.
and we want you to rate it.
Okay, I'm the only one who hasn't
Wait.
tried these breads.
Oh.
Een bisschen.
Oh, that's good. Oh my god.
Liberté. It's close to here. It's like 15-minute walk.
Oh, okay.
There's this walk that we did the other day. I think it was yesterday. We went and walked down, and
Holy moly.
we passed by like 8 different boulangeries in 10 minutes.
I know. This place is so filled with boulangeries.
Jeez.
Now, what
That-
you guys might not know, but our friend Jane Birch told us this last week. Jane runs a culinary school called La Cuisine Paris. And she told us last week that in order to qualify legally as a boulangerie, a bread shop must select its own flour, it has to knead its own dough, and it has to bake the loaves on the premises. So those are the 3 criteria for becoming a boulangerie, for being accredited as a boulangerie. And I think that the French did this so that they wouldn't have these factories that made bread and then claimed that it was coming
Yeah,
from a boulangerie.
they did. They had that in Britain, and I think maybe they saw that. But I know that in the early 20th century that they started doing that in Britain, and it really scared the French. That there were now these factories making bread, and now these cars were taking it to different houses. They didn't want that. They didn't want to have that system.
Yeah, baking bread in a factory is probably not a good idea. I like it small batches,
Yeah.
Our next boulangerie is only about a 10-15 minute walk away from Liberté, and it's called Ernest and Valentin, and it won the best boulangerie of Paris in 2015.
Yeah.
So we have some right here. This is a little bit different. It has
Seedy.
It's got seeds inside.
Yeah, I got the one with seeds in it, so. But
Azeitonas.
no, not olives.
Here,
just
give-
seeds.
Give me some.
Oh,
of that.
just
Yeah,
wait.
I'm
What's
sorry.
the seeds one? What is it?
I don't-
Sementes.
Sementes.
Sementes, yeah.
Sementes. That's good to say.
Do you want to try some, Aaron?
No, I've already had sandwiches
this
with
is
this.
good. This is really good. Whoa,
Well, it's crunchy and on the outside, and
that's flavorful.
fluffy and airy on the inside.
Damn, that's flavorful.
I can see why they won so many awards.
Wow, that's
Very,
good.
very good.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Now, this place was a little bit more flashy than Liberté. It was more commercial in the sense that it was kind of newer on the inside. And the woman there, we spoke French to her, but she spoke to us in English. And do you remember what she said, Aaron?
Yeah, she said that my father and I had the same face.
That's funny. That's
Wow.
funny.
I can't imagine anyone ever saying that.
Why would anyone say that?
I
don't
think
know.
I think that I've been told that probably more than 20 times in my life by complete strangers. Like, oh, you look a lot like your father, and it's always it's always women above the age of probably 30, and they'll look at me and they'll look at my dad and they're like, oh, you look just like your father.
We do look very similar, though. Anyway, I thought that the bread was really good here. I mean, even though we were getting a little on the wild side with the putting the seeds in the bread, I thought that.
The wild side?
Well, I mean, we were going for like the straight up baguette.
It's very flavorful, though.
But yeah, it's very, very good. All right, our next, our next boulangerie and our last was called Beau and Me, and this one was the most crowded of all.
Oh yeah, it took us a long time to finally get to the end of the line. It must have taken us 6 minutes waiting.
I was recording audio, and I recorded 8 minutes of audio from start to finish.
Wow.
And there was a large tour group in there also, so the Americans were there.
So mean means fluffy, right?
No, I have no idea what that means.
I don't know. I think it's
Beau is short for like boulangerie, so it's like probably boulangerie, and then me.
Fluffy boulangerie.
It has several locations. Anyway, you can see right here on the bag.
Can I eat it?
Oh yeah, you can eat. Yeah, of course. That's what we got it for.
Can you smell? Smells like the bread in Portugal. Give me a second.
Except they don't really do baguettes
Very
in Portugal.
crunchy. Not really, no. But I like the pão in Portugal.
Whoa.
You don't like it?
Did somebody spray this with disinfectant?
Let me try this. No one.
Tastes like Lysol.
Well, if it tastes like Lysol, why are you eating more?
I'm not. I'm just. No, let me. Definitely the best one is the Ernest and Valentin.
I like Liberté myself.
Yeah, Liberté is also
Beau
good.
and Me is good, but
That's fine.
a little bit,
It's overrated.
maybe a little bit overrated.
One of the favorite things that we would do with baguettes is you make sandwiches out of them. And I remember the first time I was in France and we stopped by a little gas stop because we were driving. And we go to this place and they have baguette sandwiches. And wow, baguette sandwiches are just really great. They're not like normal American sandwiches that have no texture and no flavor outside of what you put in it. Baguettes are special in that they're crusty and they're crunchy and they have a real flavor. And also the texture inside the baguette is not crusty. It's much
Don't hate on
better.
America, Aaron. Don't be hating on the U.S. sandwiches.
But I'm just saying,
No.
Wonder Bread only gets you so far.
They don't use
We've
Wonder
had some
Bread.
amazing bread in the States. We'll talk about that in a second, I'm sure, because we're going to talk about our favorite bakeries.
Submarine. I'm not gonna say Subway, but submarine sandwiches. Those are amazing.
Oh yeah, I like subs.
But hoagies are a little bit
grinders,
bland.
subs, whatever you want to call them. They're very good. Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say grinder.
I think they're called grinder in some states. I don't know.
Probably in West Hollywood.
Maybe yes. The food in West Hollywood's really good.
Oh,
We
yeah,
should
it
do a
was
whole
very good.
episode on
Hollywood
food
food.
in California or food in LA because we could really.
They had some
very
very fancy bakeries there. They also call themselves boulangerie, but I don't think they have the same requirements as the French do. But great food there.
So a few tips though about getting good, going to a boulangerie and getting good baguettes. If you want to get a good baguette, you have to get there early in the morning. I think most French people know that, and they get there as soon as the boulangerie opens. They're there, and the reason why is you want to eat a baguette while it's fresh still. You want it to be crunchy on the outside and soft and a little bit warm on the inside, and that is just it's nature's perfect food. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And we got there a little bit later, so none of these baguettes were warm, but they were still good. So get there early. And know what you want. Now, Aaron, our friend Jane mentioned something about the types of baguettes, and we did a little research. So can you share with us the different types of baguettes that you can get?
Well, this is not just for baguettes. This is with any bread. But if, for example, you see a piece of bread that looks less or more cooked, you can ask for a piece of bread that's less or more cooked. So, for example, if you're asking for a baguette, you can say, I'd like a baguette that's bien cuite. That means well cooked. And it's kind of like asking for a steak in that sense, where you can ask for it cooked at certain levels. You can even order a baguette. You can also get a baguette or any other type of bread blanc or white, which means that it's less cooked. So it's going to be more, I guess, fluffy, doughy, as opposed to those razor sharp edges that you're used to in certain baguettes. But really not in the United States. Like I've never had a baguette in the US that really cuts down hard, something that destroys the inside of your mouth.
I'd love to try the white baguette just to see how that is when it's fluffy.
Well, we can still do that. We're here for a while.
Yeah.
But I like the crunchy kind. I like it hot and crunchy on the outside and doughy on the inside. That's my favorite kind. We need to tell some bread secrets, though. These were just tips. And I thought that maybe you guys could talk a little bit about your favorite bakeries ever of all time.
Oh, definitely. I already know the one.
Okay.
The Boulangerie La Niçoise in Nice, France. I went there every single day during the beginning of the pandemic when we were stuck in Nice. They have the best olive bread and the best seed bread.
Yes, they are very good. We went. You guys bought bread there every day, you and your sister, and you would bring it back to the house. And they had this dark bread. I don't remember what it was.
That's the seed bread.
All black. It's called the
all black. But it's covered in seeds.
I have not seen it here in Paris yet, but it was so good. I remember eating it and then eating some more. And people would say, "Where's the bread?" And I'd go, "Oh, I don't know." And I had eaten the entire loaf myself.
And they make it fresh every single morning. You had to buy it before 8 a.m. Otherwise, it would be gone.
And of course, the French didn't close their bakeries during the pandemic because it was considered absolutely essential.
Yeah, you're right, because they closed down all the restaurants, but not the bakeries.
Not the bakeries. No, they can't live without their bread. There is something about walking into a boulangerie, buying the bread, bringing it out and going, "Oh, this is hot." And then knowing that bread is not going to make it home. You're going to eat it before you get home because it just, you have to keep eating it.
Yeah, that's what happened with the olive bread. Whenever I went there to get their mini olive baguettes, oh my God, it would not make it home.
Aren, your favorite bakery?
My favorite bakery of all time has to be the Grain Shed. And I'm at risk of repeating myself here because on this podcast, I think we've talked about the Grain Shed before. But I have to say, the Grain Shed in Spokane, Washington has great bread. And this is because I'm mainly a snob about bread. You know, I want healthier breads, and so I say, please don't give me like just white bread, you know, baguettes and normal things like that. No.
No white flour.
I say nay to that. And so when I go to the Grain Shed, they have all of these different types of bread, and a lot of them are whole grain. But the main thing that the Grain Shed does so well is that they produce their breads and they cook it very well. So there's one bread, and I forget the name, but it's just a normal bread and has seeds on the outside. But the seeds make the bread taste like bacon. And that's a good loaf of bread. You know, that's something that you're going to slice up or make sandwiches out of or make avocado toast out of. Really, you can do a million different things with this bread. And also, it's relatively healthy, so I don't really feel that guilty about eating it.
Yeah, they have really good avocado toast.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Really good.
And I'm surprised, Spokane, of all places, that has good bread, but these guys really are serious about their bread, and I agree.
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about my favorite bakery, it's a toss-up between actually Petite Ile, which is one of the bakeries that we discovered here, which has really great sourdough. I am a sucker for sourdough bread. The sourdough is absolute perfection. It's a thin crust on the outside it's just perfect. You can hear it crunching, and it just makes this great sound.
It's not the crunch really that you like, though. It's that texture on the inside.
The texture,
you see,
yes.
Certain sourdough breads have this mild tartness and a really great texture. So that way it tastes more like you're eating Swiss cheese as opposed to a bread. But it's not Swiss cheese. It tastes better than Swiss cheese, because Swiss cheese, I don't like Swiss cheese that much. It's more bready, but the bread isn't doughy. It's very strong, and you know, really it's hard to describe. You really just have to come here and experience it for yourself.
I would also say that Tartine in LA is one of my favorite bakeries. And I remember one time when Aren and I drove from Prescott all the way to LA and back in one day, and now Aiden's eating bread.
I'm sorry, I'm very hungry.
It's very good
it's
bread.
Good bread, yes. Yeah. Good bread.
And we stopped by Tartine on the way home. And I thought, oh, well, we'll just buy a loaf, and then we'll have some leftover. We'll have some bread left over for tomorrow morning. And that loaf of bread didn't make it we didn't have time to get on the 10 freeway, and that loaf of bread was done.
Oh, it was worse than that. We were actually planning on eating out that night because we didn't have any dinner. And so we got this loaf of bread and we're like, you know what? Yeah, we're still going to eat out though, right? You know, because this bread probably isn't enough.
It was plenty.
It was plenty. We
Yeah.
finished the bread in the
so
car.
Good. It was
You know.
so good. And it was sourdough. So if sourdough is my thing. That's just, I really love it.
I love sourdough too.
Yeah.
Sourdough's amazing. I mean, the best things in this world are sourdough, especially if it's made out of bread, like a flour.
This week's
Definitely.
question is, tell us about your best bread on the road. So if you've been to Paris or you've been to Portugal, I mean, some of the best bread that we've ever had is in Lisbon and in Porto. And then sometimes we're really surprised. I mean, who would have thought that Spokane, of all places, would have a really great bakery? But it does.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your favorite bread, and we will read your comments in our next podcast. Well, I'm glad you've joined us this week. We had a lot of fun eating bread and sharing it with you. I wish you could have been here to have some of this bread because it was really, really good. We will see you next week. We'll still be in Paris, and we'll have an all-new podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Yep, see you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Ciao bella.
Ciao,
Ciao, bella.
Bella. Bye-bye.